She lost on a Friday. By Sunday, she was already at Wimbledon. No recovery days. No flights home to Manila. No time spent feeling sorry for herself. Just 48 hours between one of the most painful losses of her career and the boldest entrance the tennis world had seen all season. And the moment Alex Eala walked through those gates at the All England Club, everything changed. The tennis world had just watched her remarkable Cinderella run at the Berlin Open come to a brutal end. A hard-fought semi-final loss to Linda Noskova had left fans heartbroken, replaying what could have been. Most players in her position would have disappeared for a week, processed the emotions, rested the body, reset the mind. Alex did the opposite. She packed her bags, booked her travel, and showed up at Wimbledon 48 hours later carrying something nobody expected to see. Not exhaustion, not frustration, not regret, determination. Players noticed it immediately. Coaches whispered about it in the corridors. Fans watching from the stands couldn't believe what they were seeing. The woman who had walked off Berlin's Steffi Graf Stadium in tears just 2 days earlier looked like a completely different person. There was no weight on her shoulders, no shadow of defeat following her around. Instead, she moved through those famous grounds with the quiet, focused energy of someone who already knew exactly what she was about to do. Questions erupted across the tennis community almost instantly. How had she recovered so quickly? What had shifted in those 48 hours? And why, after a heartbreaking semi-final exit, did she suddenly look like the most dangerous player in the entire Wimbledon draw? The answer was bigger than anyone had anticipated, because somewhere between Berlin and London, between the tears and the flight and the first steps onto the All England Club grounds, something historic had quietly taken shape. Alex's stunning performances across the grass court season had done something that no Filipino tennis player had ever done before in the history of the sport. She had earned a singles seed at a Grand Slam number 30 in the live rankings, up from number 35 just weeks earlier, comfortably inside the top 32. And with that ranking came a Wimbledon seeding, making Alex Eala the first Filipino player in history to earn a single seed at a major tennis tournament. Over 115 million people back home in the Philippines. Decades of players who had dreamed of this moment. And for the very first time, one of their own had a seed at Wimbledon. When Alex arrived at the grounds on June 22, 2026, the atmosphere shifted in a way that was impossible to ignore. Those expecting to see a player still recovering from an emotional defeat were left completely stunned. She carried herself with the composure and confidence of someone whose best tennis was not behind her, but directly ahead. The tears from Berlin had been replaced by focus. The disappointment had been replaced by purpose. And the uncertainty that so often follows a painful loss had been replaced by something far more powerful. Belief. The buzz around her arrival grew with every passing hour. Fans, analysts, and fellow competitors couldn't believe how completely she had turned the page. But this was no accident. Every match she had played across the grass court swing had shaped her for exactly this moment. From Birmingham to Berlin, every victory had added a layer to her game and a degree of confidence to her mindset that made her genuinely difficult to prepare for. She had beaten a world number 2. She had eliminated a former world number 3. She had knocked out one of the hottest players on tour. And now she was arriving at the most prestigious tennis tournament on earth, seeded, focused, and ready. But the seeding was not even the biggest story of the week, because when the doubles draw was finally released, the tennis world didn't just take notice. It completely stopped. Scrolling down the list of partnerships for the women's doubles competition, fans reached Alex's name and saw 3 words printed beside it that made them read the screen twice. Then, a third time, just to be absolutely certain. Venus Williams. 7 Grand Slam singles titles. Multiple Wimbledon championships. Decades of dominance that had reshaped the landscape of women's tennis and inspired an entire generation of players worldwide. Venus Williams was not just a champion. She was the standard by which champions were measured. She was the reason countless young girls across the globe had ever picked up a racket in the first place, and she was now officially Alex Eala's doubles partner at Wimbledon. The reaction was immediate, emotional, and impossible to contain. Fans flooded every corner of social media within minutes. Venus Williams is a legend, and now she's teaming up with Alex. Someone tell me this isn't a dream. Another wrote, from a young girl practicing in the Philippines to standing beside Venus Williams on the biggest grass court in the world. What a journey. Across forums, comment sections, and group chats from Manila to London, supporters called it exactly what it was: a full-circle moment that connected generations, transcended tennis, and meant something far deeper than any scoreline could ever capture. For Alex, this partnership represented the fulfillment of something she had carried with her for years. Earlier in the season, she had spoken openly about growing up watching the Williams sisters dominate Wimbledon, studying their power, their precision, their iron will in the biggest moments. She had shaped parts of her own game with them in mind. Back when the idea of actually sharing a court with one of them felt like nothing more than a childhood daydream too big to say out loud, she had described the moment with complete honesty when it finally became real. "I am really excited. Venus is such a trailblazer. She has done so much for this sport, and she continues to inspire everyone. Now, instead of watching from afar, she would be standing right beside her, a 46-year-old living legend, a 21-year-old rising star." Their opening doubles match set against Alexandra Osborne and Catherine Harrison, scheduled for Tuesday at the All England Club. The pairing instantly became one of the most talked about storylines in the entire tournament. Not because of rankings or expectations or predictions, but because of what it meant. Experience meeting ambition, history reaching toward the future, a torch being passed in real time on the most iconic grass courts in the world. Tennis analysts were quick to explain why the dynamic was so compelling. Venus had spent decades competing on stages exactly like this one, handling the pressure, absorbing the spotlight, and delivering when it mattered most. She had been here before. She knew how it felt, how it sounded, how it breathed. Alex, meanwhile, was in the middle of a breakthrough season that had already rewritten the record books for her country. The opportunity to learn from one of the greatest champions the sport had ever produced, not in a press conference, not in an interview, but side by side on a Grand Slam court, was the kind of education no coaching staff could ever fully replicate. Every practice session carried weight. Every conversation had meaning. Every point played together was a lesson absorbed in real time from someone who had won it all. But while the doubles partnership dominated headlines around the globe, Alex's singles campaign was quietly delivering a statement that demanded to be heard. Standing across the net in her opening round match was Elise Mertens, the experienced Belgian veteran ranked 24th in the world, who had already defeated Alex twice in their career head-to-head. Their most recent meeting in Madrid just 2 months earlier had been particularly harsh. Mertens had controlled the match from the very first game. The gap between them had been obvious and uncomfortable and difficult to forget. Wimbledon was not Madrid, and Alex was not the same player who had stood on that court in Spain when the final point was struck, when the scoreboard confirmed a straight sets victory. Decisive, controlled, and commanding, the message echoed across the entire tennis world. It was not just a win over a higher-ranked opponent. It was validation. It was the clearest possible answer to every critic, who had wondered whether her grass court brilliance could survive against elite competition. On the biggest stage, she had answered that question in the most definitive way possible. The improvements were visible in every single aspect of her game. Her movement was sharper. Her shot selection was smarter. Her composure under pressure was something altogether different from the player who had searched for answers in Madrid. And her belief, perhaps more than anything else, had reached a level that her opponents were now visibly feeling from the other side of the net. She had climbed rankings. She had claimed milestones. She had broken records her country had been waiting decades to celebrate. But through all of it, Alex remained anchored to something larger than trophies and seedings and headlines. She had spoken about it throughout her rise, the pride she felt carrying the hopes of the Philippines onto every court she stepped onto. Every victory was not just for her. Every win echoed back home across islands and cities and living rooms where families stayed up late to watch her play. That sense of purpose had never left her. And as the biggest matches of Wimbledon still waited ahead, it remained the deepest fuel in everything she did. From Berlin to London, from heartbreak to history, from a wildcard entry and a childhood dream to a Grand Slam seeding and a partnership with one of the greatest players the world had ever seen. Alex Eala had already defied every expectation this grass court season had placed in front of her. And at Wimbledon, the most demanding, most storied, most unforgiving tournament in tennis, she was only just getting started. The next chapter was waiting, and she was ready.